This audiobook proves that breath controls wealth. As you listen, you'll learn to breathe in abundance, letting each inhale draw riches and each exhale release lack. Stay and discover how your breath governs fortune more surely than coin or toil. Breath controls wealth. Introduction. You have stepped into a rumor older than coins and caravans, a murmur passed from lamp-lit stalls to mountain hermitages. Wealth is not kept in coffers, but carried on a living tide, the breath. Long before ledgers and vaults, sages taught that fortune gathers wherever the inner wind is steady, generous, and awake. Ask yourself, what is prosperity but the blooming of what was once invisible? A seed waits for wind and rain. Without them the field sleeps. Iron hears the bellows and becomes a blade. Even the oceans bow and rise to a silent measure. So, too, does your life swell or thin according to the cadence moving through your chest. Here, in Breath Controls Wealth, you receive those hidden transmissions, traveled by spice routes and pilgrim paths, from midnight bazaars to cloistered halls. Each story is a vessel for you to board. Each teaching is a mirror for you to meet. When you breathe with intention, saffron brightens like sunrise, clay multiplies under your hands, your very words glitter, and silence ripens into gold. This is not a treatise on toil. It is a book of remembering. You need not chase fortune across deserts of effort, nor bargain with your worth. From your first cry, the golden thread was tied, the breath that weds earth to heaven. When you place your awareness upon it, you weave increase into every step, every sentence, every thought. So, open your inner shutters as dawn opens the day. Let these parables walk beside you. Let the practices become the small rituals that turn the key. For as surely as the moon pulls the tide, your breath summons the current of prosperity. Align with its ancient rhythm, and discover that true wealth is not hunted or hoarded. It is recalled, like a name that has always been yours. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Part 1. Foundations. Breath in Work and Service. Chapter 1. The Merchant's First Lesson. In the bustling spice markets of ancient Damascus, where cinnamon towers reached toward heaven and saffron dust painted the air golden, a merchant named Christopher Martinez stood before his nearly empty stall. Once, his family's spice trade had been prosperous, but now his shelves held only remnants of former glory. Christopher had tried everything: better displays, lower prices, even burning precious incense to attract customers. But each day, wealthy buyers passed his stall without a glance, while his competitors' fortunes grew like wild gardens. One sweltering afternoon, as despair wrapped around him like a heavy cloak, an elderly woman appeared before his stall. Her eyes shimmered like desert stars, and though she wore simple robes, she carried herself with the dignity of a queen. "Your spices weep, young merchant," she said, lifting a handful of Christopher's cardamom pods. "They cannot dance without the sacred breath." Christopher frowned. "Dance? They're spices, wise mother. They simply are." The woman's laugh tinkled like silver bells. "Nothing simply is in this world of wonders. Watch closely." She cupped the cardamom in weathered hands and began to breathe in a peculiar rhythm. 7 counts in, hold for 4, 8 counts out, hold for 4. As she breathed, something extraordinary happened. The cardamom's aroma intensified, spreading through the market like invisible honey. "The breath of prosperity," she explained, "awakens the sleeping spirit in all things. Your spices aren't merely goods to be sold, they're dreams waiting to be awakened." She taught Christopher the sacred breathing pattern, making him practice until his breath flowed like water. "Before opening each day," she instructed, "breathe life into your spices. 7 in, 4 hold, 8 out, 4 hold. Let your breath carry your intention for abundance." Though skeptical, Christopher followed her teaching. Each morning he arrived before dawn, breathing life into his humble inventory. Within days, something shifted. Wealthy merchants who never noticed him began stopping, commenting on the extraordinary quality of his spices. His saffron was called strands of sun, his pepper dragon's breath. Within a moon cycle, Christopher's stall became the market's crown jewel. But more than mere success, he had discovered a profound truth. Abundance flows not from what we sell, but from how deeply we breathe life into our offerings. You too possess this power. Your breath can transform ordinary moments into vessels of prosperity. Every inhale draws in universal abundance. Every exhale releases limitation. Practice. Begin each day with the breath of prosperity. Sit quietly, placing your hands over your heart. Breathe in for 7 counts, drawing in golden light. Hold for 4 counts, letting it fill your being. Exhale for 8 counts, releasing all scarcity. Hold empty for 4 counts, creating space for abundance. Continue for 7 cycles, knowing that with each breath, you awaken the sleeping wealth within all things. Remember, the breath you take before any endeavor becomes the wind that fills its sails. Choose to breathe with purpose, and watch as the universe responds in kind. Chapter 2. The Temple Guardian's Secret. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Tibet, where prayer flags whispered secrets to the wind, a young temple guardian named Jessica Anderson tended the sacred flames of the Prosperity Shrine. Her duties were simple but eternal. Keep the butter lamps burning, sweep the stone floors, and ring the copper bells at appointed hours. Though the temple was remote, pilgrims occasionally made the treacherous journey to leave offerings. Most gave modest gifts, a handful of coins, a small bag of tea, or fresh yak butter for the lamps. Jessica performed her duties with quiet devotion, never expecting more. One particularly cold morning, as she tended the flames, she noticed how her breath created swirling patterns in the frigid air. Something about these patterns caught her attention. They seemed to dance with the flickering lamplight in an almost mystical way. Experimenting, she began to breathe in rhythm with the temple bells. In for 3 rings, hold for 1, out for 3, hold for 1. As she did this, the butter lamp flames began to pulse in harmony with her breath, creating a mesmerizing display. That very afternoon, a wealthy merchant arrived. Upon entering the shrine, he stood transfixed, watching the dancing flames. Without hesitation, he placed a bag of gold coins in the offering bowl, more than the shrine typically received in a month. Over the next few weeks, Jessica continued her rhythmic breathing practice while tending the lamps. More pilgrims came, and each left increasingly generous offerings. Soon, the temple's prosperity bowl overflowed with gifts of unprecedented value. The temple abbot noticed this change and observed Jessica at her duties. "Ah," he smiled, "you've discovered the breath of sacred reciprocity. When we breathe in harmony with the temple bells, we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of giving and receiving. You too can activate this principle of sacred reciprocity. Just as Jessica's breath transformed humble butter lamps into beacons of abundance, your conscious breathing can amplify the energy of prosperity in your sacred spaces. Practice. Find a quiet place where you can hear a bell, chime, or even the ticking of a clock. Breathe in rhythm with its sound. Inhale for 3 counts, hold for 1, exhale for 3, hold for 1. As you breathe, visualize your energy creating a golden light that attracts abundance. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing that each breath aligns you more deeply with the natural flow of prosperity. Remember, the universe responds not to what we do, but to the rhythm with which we do it. When your breath dances with sacred timing, abundance flows as naturally as the rising sun. Chapter 3. The Farmer's Abundant Harvest. In the fertile valley of ancient Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates once flowed like veins of life, a farmer named Michael Rodriguez watched helplessly as his fields turned to dust. The rain had forgotten its way to his land, and the wheat that should have stood tall barely reached his knees. Each morning, Michael would walk his failing fields, counting the withering stalks like fallen soldiers. His neighbors had already abandoned their farms, seeking fortune in distant cities. But Michael's family had worked this soil for 7 generations, leaving felt like betraying his ancestors. One scorching afternoon, as he knelt in the parched earth, a peculiar figure appeared through the heat waves. The wandering sage wore robes that seemed woven from morning mist, and his staff left small patches of green wherever it touched the ground. "Your crops thirst," the sage observed, "not for water, but for breath." Michael wiped his brow. "Breath? The wheat needs rain, wise one, not air." The sage smiled mysteriously. The ancient ones knew that breath carries the seeds of creation. Watch closely. Kneeling beside a withered wheat stalk, the sage demonstrated a strange breathing pattern. "Breathe in through your nose while visualizing cool mist," he instructed. "Hold the breath in your belly, feeling it transform into life-giving rain. Then exhale slowly through slightly parted lips, directing the breath toward the earth." To Michael's amazement, the sage's breath seemed to create tiny droplets of moisture around the wheat stalk. By sunset, that single plant stood noticeably greener and taller than its neighbors. "The breath of life flows through all things," the sage explained. "When you breathe with intention, you become a bridge between heaven and earth. Practice this breathing at dawn and dusk, walking your fields. Let your breath remind the sky how to rain." Though skeptical, Michael dedicated himself to the practice. Each morning and evening he walked his fields, breathing life into the dying crops. Gradually, mysterious changes began to occur. Dew appeared more abundantly around his plants. Small clouds gathered over his fields, while neighboring lands remained clear. Within a month, Michael's wheat grew thick and strong, defying the drought that plagued the region. His harvest that year became legendary, the only abundant crop in a season of scarcity. You too can breathe life into barren situations. When circumstances seem dire, remember that your breath carries the power to restore nature's abundance. Practice. Find a plant or garden to practice the breath of life. Standing barefoot on the earth, inhale deeply while visualizing cool mist filling your body. Hold this breath in your belly for 4 counts, feeling it transform into nurturing rain. Exhale slowly through slightly parted lips, directing your breath toward the ground. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing that each breath helps restore nature's abundance. Remember, just as Michael's breath renewed his fields, your conscious breathing can revitalize any area of life where abundance seems to have withered. The seeds of prosperity await only the water of your sacred breath. Chapter 4. The Healer's Golden Touch. In the misty mountains of ancient China, where healing herbs grew wild on precipitous cliffs, lived a young medicine woman named Ashley Sullivan. Though skilled in the arts of healing, she struggled to sustain herself, as most villagers paid her with mere handfuls of rice or worn blankets. Ashley practiced her craft in a modest hut near a sacred waterfall, where she prepared poultices and tinctures while listening to the water's eternal song. Her treatments were effective, yet something felt missing from her healing touch. One night, as she tended to an elderly silk merchant suffering from fever, she noticed how the steam from her medicinal tea created intricate patterns in the air. The vapors seemed to dance in rhythm with her patient's labored breathing. Acting on intuition, Ashley began to synchronize her own breath with the rising steam. Inhale as it spiraled up, hold as it lingered, exhale as it dissipated. To her amazement, the merchant's breathing naturally fell into harmony with hers. Within moments, his fever broke. But something else extraordinary occurred. The merchant's eyes widened with sudden clarity. "Your medicine," he whispered. "It feels like drinking liquid sunlight." He insisted on paying her with precious silk rather than the usual modest fee. Word of Ashley's golden healing spread quickly. Soon wealthy patients traveled great distances, offering silver, jade, and even rare medicines in exchange for her treatments. Yet she noticed something curious. The generous payments came not just from her remedies, but from the profound sense of value patients felt during the breathing synchronization. An ancient wandering healer, observing her practice, nodded knowingly. "You've discovered the breath of mutual value," he explained. "When healer and patient breathe as one, energy flows not just between bodies, but between spirits. This creates an exchange that transcends mere payment. It becomes an offering of true worth. You too can activate this principle of energetic exchange in your own offerings to the world. When you breathe in harmony with those you serve, you create value that naturally attracts abundant compensation." Practice. Before any exchange or service, sit quietly and practice the breath of mutual value. Inhale for 5 counts, visualizing golden light filling your being. Hold for 3 counts, feeling this light saturate your offering. Exhale for 7 counts, sending this light toward those you serve. Hold empty for 2 counts, creating space to receive. Continue for 5 cycles, knowing that each breath aligns you with the natural flow of giving and receiving. Remember, true abundance flows not from what you charge, but from the depth of value you create through conscious presence. Let your breath become the bridge between service and prosperity. Chapter 5. The Fisherman's Net of Gold. Along the ancient shores of the Arabian Sea, where dawn painted the waves with sheets of gold, a struggling fisherman named Matthew Garcia cast his nets into waters that grew emptier by the day. While other boats returned heavy with fish, his nets seemed to attract only seaweed and broken shells. Matthew had inherited his father's fishing boat, but not, it seemed, his legendary ability to sense where the fish gathered. Each evening, he returned to harbor with barely enough catch to feed his family, while watching other fishermen trade their abundance for silver and spice. One storm-threatened morning, when most boats remained safely docked, Matthew encountered an unusual sight: a weathered captain steering his ship directly into the thundering waves. The captain's vessel moved with impossible grace, as if dancing with the tempest itself. Intrigued, Matthew followed at a distance. Through the storm's fury, he noticed something peculiar. The captain stood at the bow, performing an odd ritual. His chest expanded and contracted in rhythm with the waves, his breath matching the sea's own breathing. When the storm cleared, the captain's nets burst with fish while Matthew's remained empty. Humbled, Matthew approached the old seafarer. "You watch the surface for fish," the captain observed, "but forget that the sea itself breathes. Every seventh wave carries the ocean's exhale. Every ninth wave draws its inhale. When you breathe with the sea's rhythm, you become part of its abundance." The captain demonstrated the ancient technique. Inhale for 7 counts with the approaching waves, hold while they crested, exhale for 9 counts as they receded. "The ocean is a living being," he explained. "It responds not to those who take, but to those who dance with its breath." Skeptical but desperate, Matthew began practicing this oceanic breathing each morning before casting his nets. Gradually, he noticed subtle changes. Schools of fish seemed to appear just as he completed a breathing cycle, and his net settled into the water at exactly the right moments. Within a moon cycle, Matthew's catches grew so abundant that merchants competed to purchase his fish, offering prices that would have seemed impossible before. His boat, once the harbor's poorest, became known as the vessel that could speak to the sea. You too can attune yourself to the breath of abundance that flows through all things. Just as Matthew learned to breathe with the ocean's rhythm, you can synchronize your energy with the tides of prosperity. Practice. Find a quiet place where you can hear or visualize waves. Breathe in for 7 counts as you imagine waves approaching. Hold briefly at their peak, then exhale for 9 counts as they recede. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing that each breath aligns you more deeply with the natural flow of abundance. Feel yourself becoming one with the eternal rhythm of giving and receiving. Remember, true prosperity comes not from taking what we want, but from breathing in harmony with the greater forces that surround us. When you match your rhythm to nature's dance, abundance flows as naturally as the tides themselves. Chapter 6. The Weaver's Thread of Prosperity. In the mist-shrouded valleys of ancient Nepal, where rainbow-colored prayer flags danced in mountain winds, lived a weaver named Amanda Thompson. Though her fingers moved with practiced grace across her loom, the tapestries she created were like countless others in the market, beautiful but unremarkable. Amanda spent her days in a small workshop overlooking sacred peaks, where prayer bells chimed with each passing breeze. She noticed how the wind seemed to weave its own patterns through the fluttering flags, creating momentary masterpieces that dissolved back into chaos. One evening, as shadows lengthened across her latest work, an enigmatic silk merchant appeared. Her robes seemed to shift colors with each movement, like living thread. Studying Amanda's tapestry, she clicked her tongue. "You weave with skilled hands," the merchant observed, "but forgotten is the sacred breath that guides the thread between worlds." Amanda paused her shuttle. "Between worlds." The merchant lifted a single silk thread, holding it to the light. "Watch how I breathe as I spin." Her breath followed an unusual pattern, inhaling as she twisted the thread clockwise, holding as she stretched it skyward, exhaling as she spun counterclockwise. "The ancients knew that breath connects the seen and unseen," she explained. "Each inhale draws divine patterns into your mind. Each hold allows the pattern to take form. Each exhale weaves that vision into reality." The merchant demonstrated how to synchronize breath with the movement of thread and shuttle. "When you breathe thus, you weave not just silk, but stories from the realm of dreams." Though skeptical, Amanda began incorporating this breathing technique into her weaving. As her breath fell into rhythm with the shuttle's dance, strange visions filled her mind, patterns she had never imagined, colors that seemed to pulse with inner light. Her tapestries transformed. No longer mere decorative pieces, they seemed to capture moments of divine inspiration. Wealthy collectors claimed the works sparked visions when gazed upon. Soon, nobles and temple priests commissioned pieces at prices that would once have seemed impossible. You too can breathe life into your creative endeavors. Just as Amanda learned to weave between worlds with conscious breath, you can infuse your work with divine inspiration. Practice. Sit before your creative workspace. Inhale for 5 counts while moving your hands clockwise, visualizing divine inspiration flowing down. Hold for 3 counts with hands raised, feeling the vision crystallize. Exhale for 7 counts while moving hands counterclockwise, manifesting that vision into form. Repeat for 9 cycles, knowing each breath weaves heaven and earth closer together. Remember, true mastery comes not from technical skill alone, but from breathing in harmony with the cosmic loom that weaves all reality. Let each breath draw golden threads of prosperity into the tapestry of your life. Chapter 7. The Blacksmith's Forge of Fortune. In the volcanic highlands of ancient Armenia, where Earth's fire bubbled close to the surface, worked a blacksmith named Joshua Baker. Though his arms were strong and his hammer true, his creations lacked the legendary qualities of the master smiths, whose blades were said to sing, and whose plowshares turned soil to gold. Joshua's forge sat near a sacred thermal vent where steam rose in rhythmic pulses from the earth's depths. While other smiths avoided the area, claiming the vapors made them dizzy, Joshua found comfort in its ancient rhythm. One night, as he struggled with a ceremonial blade that refused to take proper form, a strange figure appeared, a metallurgist whose skin seemed to shimmer like burnished bronze. The stranger watched Joshua's frustrated efforts with knowing eyes. "Your bellows pump air," the metallurgist observed, "but your breath fights against the forge's spirit." Joshua paused mid-strike. "The forge has a spirit?" The metallurgist placed his hand over the thermal vent. "These are the earth's lungs, young smith. Feel how they breathe. 3 pulses out, 2 pulses in. This is the rhythm that transforms base metal into divine form." He demonstrated a curious breathing technique, 3 short exhales while working the bellows, 2 sharp inhales while hammering the metal. The ancients knew that metal remembers the breath pattern of its forging. Breathe divine fire into your work, and prosperity will flow like molten gold. Though skeptical, Joshua began synchronizing his breath with both the thermal vent's rhythm and his smithing movements. As he fell into this sacred pattern, the metal seemed to soften more willingly beneath his hammer. His creations took on an otherworldly sheen, as if capturing firelight within their depths. Soon, word spread of Joshua's extraordinary metalwork. Warriors claimed his blades moved like living things in their hands. Farmers swore his plowshares made crops grow twice as tall. Wealthy merchants offered chests of silver for even simple items from his forge. You too can infuse your creations with divine breath. Just as Joshua learned to forge in rhythm with earth's fire, you can breathe life into your own works. Practice. Stand where you create. Inhale deeply, feeling heat build in your core. Release 3 short, powerful exhales while visualizing divine fire flowing through your hands into your work. Draw 2 sharp inhales, imagining that fire transforming your creation into its highest form. Continue for 7 cycles, knowing each breath forges a stronger connection between earthly effort and divine prosperity. Remember, true mastery comes not from force, but from breathing in harmony with the sacred rhythms that shape all things. Let each breath fan the flames of abundance in your own creative forge. Chapter 8. The Scribe's Words of Worth. In the candlelit halls of ancient Alexandria, where papyrus scrolls held the whispers of forgotten ages, worked a scholarly scribe named Sarah Mitchell. Though her penmanship was flawless and her translations precise, her writings lacked the mysterious power of those rare texts that seem to breathe with living wisdom. Sarah spent her days in the great library's quietest corner, where towering shelves created valleys of ancient knowledge. She noticed how the air moved differently here, sometimes still as stone, sometimes dancing with invisible currents that made the hanging oil lamps flicker in strange patterns. One dust-moted afternoon, while struggling to translate a particularly challenging text, Sarah encountered an unusual sight. An aged librarian whose fingertips seemed to glow with faint golden light as they traced the lines of text she read. "Your translations capture the words," the librarian observed, "but miss the breath between them." Sarah looked up from her work. The breath between words? The librarian opened an ancient scroll, pointing to the spaces between characters. "See how the text pulses. Sacred writings have their own rhythm. Inhale as your eyes seek meaning. Hold as wisdom crystallizes. Exhale as your hand forms the characters." She demonstrated a peculiar technique, breathing in while reading 3 lines, holding for a moment of contemplation, then exhaling while transcribing a single line of distilled wisdom. When you breathe thus, you become a channel for divine knowledge, not merely its scribe. Though skeptical, Sarah began incorporating this breathing pattern into her work. As she synchronized her breath with the flow of ancient wisdom, something extraordinary happened. The texts seemed to reveal deeper layers of meaning, and the words she wrote carried an almost hypnotic quality. Soon, scholars claimed her translations awakened something in their souls. Wealthy collectors offered small fortunes for copies of her work. Even kings sent emissaries seeking her interpretations of sacred texts. paying in gold for what they called words that breathe. You too can breathe life into your words and work. Just as Sarah learned to channel wisdom through conscious breath, you can infuse your creations with divine inspiration. Practice. Sit with something you wish to understand deeply. Inhale for 3 slow counts while absorbing information. Hold for 1 count to integrate its essence. Exhale for 2 counts while expressing that wisdom in your chosen form. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath draws you closer to the eternal source of all knowledge and prosperity. Remember, true understanding flows not from the mind alone, but from breathing in rhythm with the cosmic wisdom that writes reality itself. Let each breath align you with the golden current of divine inspiration that flows through all things. Chapter 9. The Potter's Vessel of Abundance. In the sun-baked valleys of ancient Peru, where sacred clay deposits whispered secrets of the Earth Mother, lived a potter named Daniel Rodriguez. Though his hands moved skillfully upon the wheel, his vessels remained ordinary, functional, but lacking the mythical properties of those rare pieces said to multiply their contents overnight. Daniel's workshop perched beside a mysterious cave where underground springs created unusual acoustics. The cavern seemed to breathe, a deep, resonant sound that locals claimed was Pachamama herself exhaling blessings into the clay. During a moonless night, while struggling to center a particularly stubborn piece, he noticed an elderly woman watching from the cave's mouth. Her skin bore the texture of weathered pottery, and her eyes held the depth of ancient riverbeds. "You shape with your hands," she murmured, "but forget to let the clay breathe." Daniel paused his wheel. Clay can breathe. The woman gathered a handful of raw earth, letting it sift through her fingers in time with the cave's resonance. All clay remembers when it was living earth. It must be awakened through the potter's breath before it can hold abundance. She guided his hands back to the wheel, teaching him to synchronize his breathing with the cave's rhythm. A slow inhale as the clay centered, a pause as it rose, a gentle exhale as his fingers shaped its form. When you breathe thus, you remind the earth of its fluid nature, and it will shape itself into vessels that overflow with prosperity. Though doubtful, Daniel began matching his breath to both the cave's song and his wheels spinning. As he found this rhythm, the clay seemed to flow like water beneath his touch. His vessels took on an otherworldly sheen, as if still moist with morning dew, no matter how long they dried. Word spread of Daniel's extraordinary creations. Farmers reported grain stored in his jars multiplied mysteriously. Wine merchants swore his amphorae improved any vintage. Even humble water jugs seemed to keep their contents perpetually fresh and sweet. Soon, wealthy traders offered gold for even the simplest cups from his wheel. You too can breathe life into earthen vessels of abundance. Just as Daniel learned to shape clay with sacred breath, you can infuse your creations with multiplication energy. Practice. Cup your hands as if holding clay. Inhale deeply while rotating them clockwise, feeling earth energy pooling in your palms. Hold briefly as you raise your hands slightly, sensing potential taking form. Exhale slowly while moving hands counterclockwise, releasing that potential into manifestation. Continue for 7 cycles, knowing each breath awakens the ancient abundance hidden in all earthly matter. Remember, True mastery comes not from imposing form, but from breathing in harmony with the eternal dance of creation. Let each breath align you with the sacred forces that shape abundance from the clay of possibility. Chapter 10. The Innkeeper's Golden Hospitality. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Tibet, where sacred winds carried whispers of enlightenment, stood a humble way station run by an innkeeper named Stephanie Williams. Though her inn was clean and her food wholesome, it lacked the legendary quality of those rare havens said to transform weary travelers into radiant beings overnight. Stephanie's inn perched beside an ancient meditation cave where the air moved in curious patterns, creating spiral currents that monks claimed were the breath of enlightened beings who once meditated there. While other innkeepers avoided building near such places, claiming they made guests restless, Stephanie found herself drawn to its mysterious flows. One storm-swept evening, as she struggled to comfort an especially troubled group of travelers, she noticed an unusual guest, a wandering yogini, whose presence seemed to fill the room with golden warmth. The stranger observed Stephanie's earnest but ineffective efforts with compassionate eyes. "You serve with your hands," the yogini noted, "but forget to weave with your breath." Stephanie paused her bustling. "Weave with breath?" The yogini gestured to the swirling air currents. "These are the threads of universal peace. See how they spiral, in through the crown, down through the heart, out through the hands. This is the pattern that transforms spaces into sanctuaries." She demonstrated an elegant breathing technique, drawing breath in through the crown while greeting guests, letting it pool in the heart while serving them, then releasing it through extended hands while tending to their needs. The ancients knew that spaces remember the breath patterns of their keepers. Breathe divine peace into your service, and prosperity will flow like honey. Though uncertain, Stephanie began incorporating this sacred breathing pattern into her hosting duties. As she matched her breath to the cave's spiraling currents, something extraordinary shifted. The very air of her inn seemed to embrace visitors, wrapping them in invisible comfort. Soon, word spread of Stephanie's miraculous hospitality. Travelers reported sleeping more deeply than they had in years. Arguing couples found themselves reconciling over her simple meals. Even hardened merchants mellowed in the golden atmosphere, leaving generous tokens of their gratitude. Within months, her humble way station became known as a sanctuary worth crossing mountains to experience. You too can create spaces of transformative abundance. Just as Stephanie learned to weave peace with her breath, you can infuse your environment with prosperity-attracting energy. Practice. Stand in your space with arms relaxed. Inhale deeply through the crown of your head, feeling universal peace flow downward. Let this energy pool in your heart center for 2 breaths. Then extend your hands and exhale slowly, imagining golden light streaming from your palms to fill the space. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing each breath helps weave a sanctuary of abundance. Remember, true hospitality flows not from mere service, but from breathing divine welcome into every corner of your domain. Let each breath transform your space into a vessel of infinite prosperity. Part 2. Mastery. Breath in Arts, Craft, and Commerce. Chapter 11. The Caravan Leader's Desert Fortune. In the shimmering expanse of the ancient Silk Road, where mirages danced on golden horizons, traveled a caravan master named Robert Martinez. Though his routes were well plotted and his camels strong, he had yet to discover those legendary trading paths that seemed to materialize from the desert's own breath. Robert's caravan specialized in transporting delicate spices and precious silks through the most treacherous stretches of sand. One particularly harsh season, when the winds howled with unusual ferocity, he encountered a peculiar sight. A lone figure standing motionless atop a dune, robes billowing in impossible patterns against the wind. As Robert approached, he noticed the stranger's chest rising and falling in an odd rhythm that seemed to match the desert's own pulse. The figure turned, revealing eyes that held the depth of ancient wells. "You navigate by stars," the stranger observed, "but ignore the desert's breathing." Robert furrowed his brow. "The desert breathes?" The figure traced patterns in the air, following invisible currents. "These sands are the lungs of the earth. Inhale with the wind's rise, hold with its pause, exhale with its settling. The desert reveals its secrets to those who match its rhythm." The stranger demonstrated an unusual technique, breathing in as sand grains rose on the wind, holding while they hung suspended, exhaling as they settled into new patterns. The ancients knew that dunes shift to reveal hidden springs. Breathe with the desert's tide, and abundance will surface from the depths. Though skeptical, Robert began incorporating this breathing pattern into his journey planning. As he synchronized with the desert's rhythm, something extraordinary emerged. His routes began curving naturally toward hidden oases. Springs seemed to bubble up in barren places, just as his caravan's water ran low. Even sandstorms appeared to part before his trains, revealing profitable shortcuts. Soon, Robert's caravans became known for discovering trading posts where none had existed before. Merchants competed to join his expeditions, claiming his routes always led to unexpected riches. Within a year, his once modest caravan had grown into a legendary trading empire. You too can breathe in rhythm with fortune's flow. Just as Robert learned to read the desert's breath, you can attune yourself to abundance's hidden currents. Practice. Stand facing the wind. Inhale for 4 counts as you feel energy rising. Hold for 2 counts while sensing suspended potential. Exhale for 6 counts as you allow new patterns to settle. Continue for 15 cycles, knowing each breath aligns you more deeply with the natural flow of prosperity. Remember, true wealth emerges not from forcing paths, but from breathing in harmony with the eternal tides of abundance. Let each breath guide you to the oases of fortune that await discovery. Chapter 12. The Dancer's Rhythm of Riches. In the perfumed courts of ancient Khmer, where temple dancers moved like living flames, dwelt a sacred performer named Elizabeth Garcia. Though her movements were precise and her devotion pure, she had yet to achieve the legendary state where dance became a gateway to divine abundance. Elizabeth trained in the Hall of Mirrors, where thousands of polished bronze surfaces caught and multiplied each gesture. The chamber was said to trap the breath of celestial dancers who had ascended through their art, their ethereal exhalations still swirling in perpetual patterns. During one moonlit rehearsal, she noticed an unusual figure watching from the shadows, a wizened dance master whose feet never seemed to touch the ground. The ancient teacher moved like smoke, leaving no reflection in the endless mirrors. "You dance with your limbs," the master observed, "but your breath fights the celestial rhythm." Elizabeth paused mid-pose. "There is a celestial rhythm?" The master gestured to the swirling air currents that carried the temple's incense. "Each movement should be a breath made visible. Inhale the sky's gold. Hold the sun's fire. Exhale streams of light. This is how dance becomes abundance incarnate." The teacher demonstrated an extraordinary breathing sequence, drawing in divine energy while rising, suspending breath at movement peaks, releasing golden light through flowing gestures. The ancients knew that wealth flows to those who embody heaven's dance. Move thus, and you will attract abundance like moths to flame. Though uncertain, Elizabeth began matching her breath to this cosmic choreography. As she found the rhythm, something miraculous occurred. Her movements became liquid light, each gesture trailing streams of golden energy. The very air around her seemed to shimmer with possibility. Word spread of Elizabeth's transcendent performances. Wealthy patrons reported feeling transformed by her dance, as if bathed in divine prosperity. Merchants claimed watching her movements revealed profitable ventures. Soon, nobles emptied their treasuries just to experience the abundance that radiated from her sacred artistry. You too can dance with the breath of prosperity. Just as Elizabeth learned to move in harmony with celestial rhythms, you can align your energy with abundance's eternal dance. Practice. Stand centered and relaxed. Inhale for 3 counts while raising your arms like rising wings. Hold the breath for 1 count at the peak. Then exhale for 5 counts as your arms flow downward like golden waterfalls. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath weaves you deeper into prosperity's divine choreography. Remember, true abundance flows not from mere movement, but from breathing in perfect rhythm with the cosmic dance. Let each breath transform you into a living channel of heaven's infinite wealth. Chapter 13. The Architect's Blueprint of Prosperity. In the sun-baked cities of ancient Mesopotamia, where ziggurats pierced the heavens like stone prayers, lived a master builder named John Phillips. Though his structures were sound and his measurements precise, he had yet to create those legendary buildings said to breathe with divine energy and attract infinite abundance. John spent his days studying the sacred geometry of temples, puzzling over how certain spaces seemed to pulse with living gold, while others remained mere stone. One sweltering afternoon, as he traced foundation lines in the dust, he noticed an elderly geometer drawing strange, spiraling patterns that seemed to hover in the air. The Ancient One's fingers moved in perfect harmony with his breath, each exhale materializing as shimmering geometric forms. Watching John's bewilderment, the geometer smiled. "You build with angles," he observed, "but forget the breath of creation itself." John lowered his measuring rod. "Creation breathes." The geometer traced a perfect circle with a single breath. Every divine structure begins as breathtaking form. Inhale the vertical thrust of towers. Hold the expansive span of arches. Exhale the flowing descent of columns. This is how the universe designed itself into being. He demonstrated a remarkable technique. breathing in while visualizing rising walls, holding while sensing spaces expanding, exhaling while feeling weight flow through supporting structures. The ancients knew that buildings aligned with creation's breath naturally attract abundance. Design thus, and wealth will flow through your structures like wind through temple gates. Though skeptical, John began incorporating these breathing patterns into his architectural practice. As he breathed life into his designs, something extraordinary unfolded. His buildings seemed to resonate with natural harmony. Markets built to his plans attracted unprecedented trade. Temples drew pilgrims from distant lands bearing rich offerings. Even simple homes seemed to prosper their inhabitants beyond explanation. Soon, rulers competed to commission John's structures, claiming his buildings brought supernatural fortune. Within years, cities transformed by his breathing architecture became legendary centers of wealth and culture. You too can breathe divine design into manifestation. Just as John learned to align with creation's breath, you can infuse your spaces with prosperity's sacred geometry. Practice. Sit in your chosen space. Inhale for 5 counts while visualizing golden energy rising like pillars. Hold for 3 counts as you feel the space expanding with possibility. Exhale for 7 counts as you sense abundance flowing through your design. Continue for 7 cycles, knowing each breath helps construct your fortune's foundation. Remember, true prosperity flows not from mere construction, but from breathing in harmony with the universe's original blueprint. Let each breath build new channels for infinite abundance to flow. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14. The Jeweler's Breath of Brilliance. In the crystalline caves of ancient Armenia, where raw gems slumbered in midnight chambers waiting to reveal their inner fire, worked a master gem cutter named Heather Nelson. Though her hands were skilled and her eye discerning, she had yet to unlock the legendary secret of breathing life into stone. Heather spent countless hours in her lamp-lit workshop, carefully studying each crystal's inner structure. One night, as moonlight filtered through translucent sheets of mica overhead, she noticed an unusual figure examining her work. An ethereal woman whose skin seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence like mother of pearl. The stranger lifted an uncut sapphire, her breath fogging its surface in intricate patterns that matched the crystal's hidden matrix. "You cut with tools," she observed, "but neglect the stone's own breath." Heather set down her grinding wheel. "Stones breathe." The luminous one held the gem to candlelight, revealing complex geometries within. Every crystal exhales the breath of its creation, the very moment Earth's heat and pressure sang it into being. Match your breath to its birth song, and its true beauty will awaken. She demonstrated an extraordinary technique, inhaling while sensing the stone's internal structure, holding breath as the crystal's energy patterns became visible, exhaling as dormant beauty sparked to life. The ancient ones knew that gems remember their molten dance, breathe with their memory, and they will reveal colors no human eye has seen. Though doubtful, Heather began incorporating this breathing pattern into her craft. As she synchronized with each stone's rhythmic essence, something miraculous emerged. Ordinary quartzes began glowing with mysterious depth. Rough garnets revealed impossible plays of light. Even simple river agates transformed into windows of wonder. Soon, wealthy collectors traveled vast distances seeking Heather's enchanted gems, claiming her stones carried prosperity's very essence. Within months, her modest workshop had become a legendary treasury, where even kings waited patiently for her transformative touch. You too can breathe awakening into the crystals of your life. Just as Heather learned to resonate with stone's ancient memory, you can align your energy with the crystalline matrix of abundance. Practice. Hold a crystal in your left hand. Inhale for 6 counts while sensing its internal structure. Hold for 4 counts as you attune to its frequency. Exhale for 8 counts as you feel its energy activating. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing each breath helps unlock prosperity's mineral memory. Remember, true wealth emerges not from external polish, but from breathing in harmony with creation's crystalline blueprint. Let each breath reveal new facets of infinite abundance. Chapter 15. The Musician's Song of Gold. In the misty valleys of ancient Tibet, where prayer flags whispered secrets to the wind, lived a wandering flautist named Jason Campbell. Though his melodies could charm birds from trees and bring tears to listeners' eyes, he had yet to discover the sacred sounds said to manifest material abundance. Jason traveled from village to village, his wooden flute his only possession. One evening, as he played beside a mountain stream, he noticed the water's surface forming unusual patterns that matched his notes. A weathered monk sat nearby, watching the ripples with knowing eyes. "You play with your breath," the monk observed, "but miss the golden pause between sounds." Jason lowered his flute. "There is gold in silence." The monk lifted a blade of grass and blew across it, creating a tone that seemed to crystallize in the air. Every note rides the breath of creation itself. Inhale the mountain's wisdom, hold the valley's wealth, exhale prosperity's song. This is how music becomes a key to heaven's treasury. He demonstrated a remarkable breathing sequence, drawing in air while feeling Earth's abundance, suspending breath until energy gathered like morning dew, releasing notes that seemed to materialize as golden light on the water's surface. The ancient masters knew that wealth flows to those who breathe the universe's original song. Play thus, and prosperity will dance to your melody. Though uncertain, Jason began incorporating these sacred breathing patterns into his music. As he found the rhythm between notes, something extraordinary occurred. His simple bamboo flute began producing sounds that reminded listeners of forgotten riches. Merchants reported business insights arriving during his performances. Farmers claimed his music made crops grow overnight. Soon, wealthy patrons from distant lands sought out the mysterious flautist, whose songs transformed poverty into prosperity. They said his music contained codes of abundance, hidden since the world's creation. You too can breathe the song of manifestation. Just as Jason learned to play the spaces between notes, you can attune your breath to prosperity's eternal melody. Practice. Sit quietly and breathe in for 4 counts while imagining drawing in golden light. Hold for 7 counts as wealth's energy builds within you. Then exhale for 8 counts while humming a single, sustained note. Continue for 5 cycles, knowing each breath aligns you with abundance's sacred symphony. Remember, true prosperity flows not from the notes themselves, but from breathing in harmony with the universe's original song. Let each breath reveal new verses in your abundance melody. Chapter 16. The Mapmaker's Paths to Treasure. In the lamplit halls of ancient Alexandria, where scrolls held the secrets of distant lands, worked a gifted cartographer named Tiffany Lopez. Though her maps were precise and beautiful, she had yet to discover the mystical art of drawing paths that led seekers to untold riches. Tiffany spent her days carefully inking coastlines and mountain ranges, puzzling over why certain maps seemed to possess an uncanny power to guide users to fortune. One moonlit evening, as she worked on a particularly challenging chart, she noticed an enigmatic wanderer studying her finished maps with unusual intensity. The stranger's fingers traced invisible lines between her marked trading routes, each movement synchronized with slow, deliberate breaths. "You draw what your eyes have seen," she noted, "but ignore what your breath can reveal." Tiffany set down her quill. Breath can reveal unseen paths. The wanderer took up a piece of blank parchment, her breathing creating subtle currents that seemed to move the ink in impossible patterns. Every treasure leaves its trace on the winds of fortune. When you breathe in harmony with these currents, your hands will draw what your eyes cannot see. She demonstrated an ancient technique, inhaling while sensing the flow of abundance across landscapes, holding as hidden connections revealed themselves, exhaling as her hand moved in perfect synchronicity with prosperity's invisible rivers. The first mapmakers knew that wealth leaves trails in the world's breath. Draw with this wisdom, and your maps will guide others to fortune's door. Though skeptical, Tiffany began incorporating these breathing patterns into her cartography. As she breathed life into her maps, something extraordinary unfolded. Merchants following her charts discovered unknown trading routes of remarkable profit. Explorers reported finding rich resources exactly where her ink lines converged. Even simple city maps seemed to guide users to unexpected opportunities. Soon, wealthy patrons commissioned her works at astronomical prices, claiming her maps contained supernatural guidance to prosperity. Within years, her charts became more valued than gold itself, sought by those who understood that true wealth follows hidden paths. You too can breathe the currents of abundance into manifestation. Just as Tiffany learned to map prosperity's invisible trails, you can align your energy with fortune's flowing paths. Practice. Close your eyes and face east. Inhale for 8 counts while sensing streams of abundance flowing toward you. Hold for 4 counts as you feel the connections between opportunity points. Exhale for 6 counts while your hands trace these patterns in the air. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath helps map your path to infinite prosperity. Remember, true wealth flows not from marked roads, but from breathing in harmony with fortune's secret currents. Let each breath reveal new routes to abundance's hidden treasures. Chapter 17. The Perfumer's Scent of Success. In the aromatic gardens of ancient Damascus, where night-blooming jasmine whispered secrets to the stars, lived a master perfumer named Justin Wilson. Though his fragrances were pleasant enough, he had yet to discover the sacred art of capturing prosperity's own perfume. Justin spent his days distilling essences in his alabaster-walled workshop, wondering why certain legendary perfumers could create scents that seemed to attract unlimited wealth. One evening, as he worked with precious rose oils, a peculiar visitor appeared, an aged man whose skin emanated subtle waves of fragrance that changed with each breath. The stranger lifted a vial of Justin's latest creation, inhaling not with his nose, but with his entire being. "You blend with your hands," he observed, "but neglect the breath of the flowers themselves." Justin lowered his measuring scales. "Flowers have breath?" The fragrant one held up a jasmine blossom, demonstrating how its scent changed with the phases of his own breathing. "Every flower exhales the essence of abundance itself. Match your breath to its nocturnal dance, and you will capture not just its scent, but its power to attract prosperity." He revealed an extraordinary technique, inhaling slowly through alternate nostrils while sensing each flower's subtle energy signature, holding breath until the essence revealed its secret nature, exhaling in a pattern that married human awareness with floral consciousness. The ancient perfumers knew that wealth has its own perfume. Breathe with this understanding, and your creations will attract abundance like moths to flame. Though doubtful, Justin began incorporating these breathing patterns into his craft. As he synchronized his breath with each essence, something miraculous occurred. His rose perfumes began carrying the very scent of success. His jasmine blends seemed to attract profitable opportunities. Even simple lavender waters took on an otherworldly quality that wealthy patrons found irresistible. Soon, merchants and nobles traveled across continents seeking Justin's mysterious fragrances, claiming they contained the very essence of prosperity. His humble workshop became known as the Treasury of Scents, where even sultans waited months for a single precious vial. You too can breathe the fragrance of abundance into being. Just as Justin learned to capture prosperity's perfume, you can align your breath with wealth's aromatic essence. Practice. Hold a flower or fragrant herb near your heart. Inhale for 5 counts through your left nostril while sensing its energy. Hold for 7 counts as you merge with its essence. Exhale for 8 counts through your right nostril, while imagining the scent of success filling your aura. Continue for 7 cycles, knowing each breath helps distill prosperity's perfect perfume. Remember, true wealth flows not from outer fragrances, but from breathing in harmony with abundance's eternal essence. Let each breath reveal new notes in prosperity's sacred scent. Chapter 18. The Librarian's Books of Abundance. In the lamplit depths of ancient Alexandria's greatest library, where wisdom whispered from countless scrolls, worked a dedicated librarian named Michelle Walker. Though she kept the scrolls meticulously organized, she had yet to discover the mystical art of arranging knowledge to attract infinite abundance. Michelle spent her nights organizing the vast collection, noticing how certain arrangements seemed to create unusual energy patterns in the archive rooms. One evening, as she worked among the towering shelves, she encountered an unusual sight: a luminous figure moving scrolls with graceful precision, each placement accompanied by a measured breath. "Your systems are orderly," the Radiant One noted, "but you've forgotten that knowledge itself breathes." Michelle paused her cataloging. "Scrolls can breathe." The figure lifted an ancient text, demonstrating how its edges vibrated in rhythm with certain breathing patterns. Every piece of wisdom has its own pulse. When you arrange knowledge in harmony with the breath of understanding, you create rivers of prosperity through which abundance naturally flows. She revealed an extraordinary technique. inhaling while sensing each scroll's unique frequency, holding breath as connections between texts revealed themselves, exhaling as manuscripts were placed in arrangements that amplified their power. The first librarians were masters of prosperity's patterns. Organized with this awareness, and seekers of wisdom will empty their treasuries to access your collection. Though skeptical, Michelle began incorporating these sacred breathing patterns into her work. As she attuned her breath to the scroll's ancient rhythms, something remarkable transpired. Wealthy scholars reported finding priceless insights in seemingly random arrangements. Merchants discovered valuable trade secrets in previously overlooked texts. Even simple reading rooms seemed charged with prosperity's potential. Soon, collectors and sages from distant lands sought access to her mysteriously powerful archive, offering fortunes for the privilege of studying there. The library became known as the Treasury of Understanding, where even kings waited months for permission to browse its breathing shelves. You too can breathe life into wisdom's wealthy flow. Just as Michelle learned to arrange knowledge in prosperity's pattern, you can align your breath with abundance's eternal archive. Practice. Sit among your books or important documents. Inhale for 6 counts while sensing their collected wisdom. Hold for 4 counts as you perceive connections between ideas. Exhale for 8 counts while imagining golden light flowing through all written words. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing each breath helps catalog infinite abundance. Remember, true wealth flows not from knowledge itself, but from breathing in harmony with wisdom's eternal dance. Let each breath reveal new chapters in prosperity's endless story. Chapter 19. The Vintner's Breath of the Vine. In the sun-drenched hills of ancient Tuscany, where grapevines whispered secrets of earthly delights, lived a skilled vintner named Ryan Torres. Though his wines were pleasant enough, he yearned to understand why certain legendary vintages seemed to possess the power to transform ordinary moments into extraordinary fortune. Ryan tended his vines with dedication, yet something eluded him. One misty dawn, while walking his vineyard, he encountered a peculiar sight, an elderly woman moving between the rows with unusual grace, her breath creating visible patterns in the morning fog that seemed to make the vines shiver with vitality. "You craft with skill," she noted, watching him inspect a cluster of grapes. "But you've forgotten to dance with the vine's own breath." "Vines breathe?" Ryan asked, noticing how the leaves seemed to pulse in rhythm with the stranger's presence. The woman plucked a single grape, holding it to the first light of dawn. "Every vine channels the earth's golden essence through its breath. When you align your breathing with the plant's natural rhythm, you tap into prosperity's flowing nectar." She demonstrated an ancient technique, inhaling as the morning dew rose from the earth, holding breath while touching each vine with intentional presence, exhaling in harmony with the plant's own respiration. The first vintners knew that wealth flows like wine through nature's hidden channels. Breathe with this wisdom, and your wines will capture abundance itself. Though uncertain, Ryan began incorporating these breathing patterns into his crafting. As he synchronized his breath with the vineyard's rhythm, something extraordinary occurred. His wines developed an otherworldly quality that seemed to attract prosperity to all who drank them. Merchants who shared his vintage reported unexpected business opportunities. Even simple table wines began selling for prices reserved for legendary casks. Soon, nobility from distant lands sought his mysterious wines, claiming they contained the very essence of fortune. His humble vineyard became known as the Garden of Golden Grapes, where even emperors waited seasons for a single amphora. You too can breathe the nectar of abundance into manifestation. Just as Ryan learned to capture prosperity's finest vintage, you can align your breath with wealth's eternal flow. Practice. Face the rising sun. Inhale for 7 counts while imagining drawing golden light from the earth through your feet. Hold for 5 counts as this energy fills your being. Exhale for 8 counts while visualizing this prosperity flowing out through your hands like wine into the world. Continue for 11 cycles, knowing each breath helps ferment fortune's perfect vintage. Remember, true wealth flows not from the grapes themselves, but from breathing in harmony with abundance's eternal harvest. Let each breath reveal new notes in prosperity's sacred wine. Chapter 20. The Navigator's Wind of Fortune. In the starlit harbors of ancient Phoenicia, where celestial winds whispered secrets to seafarers, lived a skilled navigator named Amber Davis. Though her charts were accurate enough, she had yet to discover the mystical art of reading the very breath of prosperity upon the waves. Amber spent her nights studying the stars from her observatory tower, wondering why certain legendary navigators could guide ships to ports where wealth flowed like water. One evening, as she charted a new trade route, she noticed an unusual sight. A silver-haired woman standing at the harbor's edge, her breathing creating peculiar patterns in the sea mist that seemed to make the stars dance. "You read the heavens well," the woman observed, watching Amber consult her astrolabe, "but you've forgotten to listen to the stars' breath." "Stars breathe?" Amber asked, noticing how the constellations seemed to pulse in rhythm with the stranger's presence. The woman traced a constellation with her finger, her breath forming visible streams of starlight. Every celestial body exhales currents of fortune. When you align your breath with the cosmic tide, you discover routes that lead straight to abundance. She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling while tracing stellar paths with the eyes, holding breath as the heavenly patterns revealed their secrets, exhaling in harmony with the cosmic dance. The first navigators knew that wealth rides in visible winds between the stars. Breathe with this wisdom, and your roots will follow prosperity's natural flow. Though doubtful, Amber began incorporating these breathing patterns into her navigation. As she synchronized her breath with stellar rhythms, something extraordinary occurred. Her chosen routes began leading ships to undiscovered trading opportunities. Merchants following her charts reported finding ports overflowing with riches. Even simple fishing vessels returned with unprecedented bounty. Soon, captains from distant shores sought her mysterious charts, claiming they contained the very essence of profitable voyages. Her humble tower became known as the Compass of Fortune, where even admirals waited months for her guidance. You too can breathe in harmony with prosperity's stellar dance. Just as Amber learned to navigate wealth's invisible currents, you can align your breath with abundance's eternal flow. Practice. Under the night sky, trace a star pattern with your eyes. Inhale for 4 counts while following its path. Hold for 7 counts as you sense its divine guidance. Exhale for 8 counts while imagining golden light streaming from the heavens to earth. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath helps chart your course to infinite abundance. Remember, True wealth flows not from the stars themselves, but from breathing in rhythm with prosperity's celestial dance. Let each breath reveal new routes on fortune's endless sea. Part 3. Mysteries, Breath, Fate, and the Cosmic Current. Chapter 21. The Alchemist's Golden Breath. In the secret laboratories beneath ancient Damascus, where whispers of transformation echoed through lamplit chambers, worked a dedicated alchemist named Brian Hayes. Though his formulas showed promise, he had yet to unlock the mystical breath that turns base metals into gold. Brian spent years studying obscure manuscripts and testing countless combinations, until one night his crucible cracked in an unusual pattern. As mercury spilled across his workbench, he witnessed something extraordinary. Tiny droplets arranging themselves into perfect spirals, pulsing in rhythm with an unseen force. From the shadows emerged a figure wearing robes inscribed with breathing patterns. "You seek gold through outer means," the figure observed, "but have forgotten that transformation begins with the breath of the universe itself." "The universe breathes?" Brian asked, noticing how the mercury droplets seemed to dance with the stranger's words. The figure placed a hand over the spilled mercury, breathing in a peculiar pattern that made the metal shimmer with golden light. "Every element contains the seed of transformation. When you align your breath with the cosmic pulse, you awaken the gold sleeping within all things." She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling while visualizing universal energy entering the metal, holding breath as molecular structures reorganized themselves, exhaling as transformation rippled through matter's core. The first alchemists knew that gold manifests through breath, not base chemicals. Breathe with this wisdom, and you'll unlock wealth's eternal formula. Though skeptical, Brian began incorporating these breathing patterns into his work. As he synchronized his breath with matter's hidden rhythms, something miraculous occurred. His simplest experiments began producing traces of real gold. The more he practiced, the more base metals responded to his breath alchemy. Soon word spread of the alchemist who could transmute metals through breath alone. His humble laboratory became known as the Chamber of Golden Breath, where even kings dared not interrupt his sacred exhalations. You too can breathe the power of transformation into being. Just as Brian learned to awaken gold through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with abundance's alchemical force. Practice. Hold a coin or metal object. Inhale for 5 counts while sensing its inner potential. Hold for 7 counts as you visualize golden light filling its structure. Exhale for 8 counts while feeling transformation ripple through its essence. Continue for 13 cycles, knowing each breath helps transmute reality into infinite prosperity. Remember, true wealth flows not from outer elements, but from breathing in harmony with the universe's transformative power. Let each breath reveal new formulas in abundance's eternal alchemy. Chapter 22. The Oracle's Prophetic Prosperity. In the mist-shrouded mountains of ancient Delphi, where sacred vapors rose from Earth's mysterious depths, lived an unusual oracle named Amy Reed. Though she possessed the gift of prophecy, her visions came in fragments until she discovered the secret rhythm of fortune's breath. Unlike other oracles who relied on trance-inducing fumes, Amy noticed something peculiar about the temple's sacred chamber. the way morning light created dancing patterns as it filtered through the rising steam. These patterns seemed to pulse with an otherworldly intelligence. One moonless night, while preparing her chamber, she encountered a veiled figure moving through the mists with uncanny grace. "You see clearly," the figure whispered, "but you breathe too swiftly to catch Fortune's whispers." "Fortune has its own breath?" Amy asked, noticing how the temple vapors swirled in mesmerizing spirals around the stranger. The figure drew a circle in the condensation on the temple wall, its center pulsing like a living thing. "Every prophecy rides the breath of destiny. When you inhale in harmony with time's flow, you draw forth not just visions, but the very essence of abundance." She demonstrated an ancient technique, breathing in perfect rhythm with the rising temple vapors, holding breath until the mists revealed their patterns, exhaling as cosmic wisdom crystallized into clear insight. The first oracles knew that wealth speaks through nature's breath. Align with this rhythm, and prosperity's future becomes visible in the present. Though uncertain, Amy began incorporating these breathing patterns into her divination practice. As she synchronized her breath with the temple's sacred rhythms, her prophecies transformed. No longer mere glimpses, her visions revealed precise paths to abundance for those who sought her wisdom. Wealthy seekers from distant lands reported that following her breath-inspired prophecies led to unprecedented fortune. Her humble chamber became known as the Sanctuary of Golden Futures, where even emperors waited months to receive her prosperity-laden insights. You too can breathe in rhythm with fortune's prophetic dance. Just as Amy learned to inhale the future's golden possibilities, you can align your breath with abundance's eternal flow. Practice. In the quiet before dawn, sit facing east. Inhale for 6 counts, while imagining drawing in tomorrow's light. Hold for 9 counts as future possibilities crystallize in your mind. Exhale for 7 counts while sensing prosperity's path unfolding before you. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing each breath reveals new chapters in your story of abundance. Remember, true wealth flows not from predicting the future, but from breathing in harmony with prosperity's eternal unfolding. Let each breath reveal new visions in fortune's sacred mists. Chapter 23. The Philosopher's Wealthy Wisdom. In the marble halls of ancient Alexandria, where thoughts took flight like doves through sunlit corridors, dwelt a peculiar philosopher named Kevin Morris. Though his insights illuminated truth, he struggled to manifest the resources needed to share his wisdom with the world. Kevin spent his days in the great library's hidden alcoves, pondering how certain legendary teachers seemed to attract endless support for their work. One afternoon, while contemplating this mystery, he noticed an unusual sight: a bronze-robed figure reading scrolls while performing elaborate breathing exercises that made the library's candles flicker in strange patterns. "Your thoughts soar high," the figure observed, watching Kevin's frustrated contemplation. "But your breath remains earthbound." "What connection has breath to teaching?" Kevin asked, noticing how the stranger's scrolls seemed to glow when touched. The figure unrolled a manuscript covered in spiral patterns. "Every truth rides the breath of understanding. When you align your breath with wisdom's flow, the material world reshapes itself to support your teaching." She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling while holding a teaching in mind, suspending breath as the truth settled into physical form, exhaling as reality aligned to manifest support. The greatest teachers knew that wisdom and wealth flow on the same breath. Breathe with this understanding, and abundance naturally gathers to spread your knowledge. Though skeptical, Kevin began incorporating these breathing patterns into his philosophical practice. As he synchronized his breath with contemplative rhythms, something remarkable occurred. Wealthy patrons began appearing at precisely the right moments, offering resources to share his teachings. Opportunities to speak emerged in perfect sequence, each supported by mysterious abundance. Soon, his humble study became known as the Chamber of Manifesting Wisdom, where even kings sought to learn how truth and prosperity intertwine through sacred breath. You too can breathe life into your deepest wisdom. Just as Kevin learned to manifest support through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with abundance's natural desire to spread truth. Practice. Sit in contemplative silence. Inhale for 5 counts while holding a teaching close to your heart. Suspend breath for 8 counts as you feel it taking form in reality. Exhale for 6 counts while sensing support gathering around your purpose. Continue for 11 cycles, knowing each breath helps manifest infinite resources for sharing your gifts. Remember, true wealth flows not from wisdom alone, but from breathing in harmony with the universe's desire to spread understanding. Let each breath reveal new ways that prosperity supports your truth. Chapter 24. The Inventor's Breath of Innovation. In the Bronze Age city of Ur, where artisans shaped wonders from metal and clay, lived an unusual inventor named Rachel Turner. Though her mind teemed with revolutionary ideas, she struggled to bring them into physical form, her workshop filled with half-finished creations that refused to match her visions. One sweltering afternoon, as Rachel puzzled over a particularly challenging mechanism, she noticed a peculiar occurrence. Her failed prototypes had fallen into an intricate pattern resembling the ripples of wind through desert sand. Following these patterns led her to a hidden courtyard where an enigmatic figure sat amidst floating geometric shapes made purely of air. "Your ideas strain against nature's rhythm," the figure observed, manipulating the air shapes with controlled breaths. "Innovation flows not from forcing, but from breathing in harmony with creation's dance." "How can breath shape invention?" Rachel asked, watching in wonder as the floating patterns shifted with each of the stranger's exhalations. The figure drew a spiral in the dust that seemed to pulse with its own life. All new forms exist first as breath in the universe's mind. When you align your breathing with creation's rhythm, impossible ideas take shape naturally. She revealed an ancient technique, breathing in sacred geometric patterns while visualizing new inventions, holding breath as the universe's creative force crystallized the vision, exhaling as innovation flowed into physical form. The first inventors knew that all creation begins with breath. Align with this wisdom, and your ideas will manifest as naturally as flowers bloom. Though doubtful, Rachel began incorporating these breathing patterns into her work. As she synchronized her breath with creation's pulse, her inventions transformed. Complex mechanisms assembled themselves with surprising ease. Solutions to impossible problems emerged in perfect clarity. Soon, her humble workshop became known as the Chamber of Breathing Wonders. where even master craftsmen sought to learn how breath could birth new realities into being. You too can breathe life into your innovative visions. Just as Rachel learned to manifest ideas through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with the universe's creative force. Practice. Sit before your creative workspace. Inhale for 7 counts while visualizing your idea in perfect detail. Hold for 5 counts as the universe's creative force fills its form. Exhale for 8 counts while feeling it crystallize into reality. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath helps birth new wonders into being. Remember, true innovation flows not from mental strain, but from breathing in harmony with creation's eternal dance. Let each breath reveal new possibilities in the universe's infinite workshop. Chapter 25. The Diplomat's Golden Tongue. In the jade-draped halls of ancient Chang'an, where silk-robed emissaries from 100 kingdoms gathered to forge alliances, lived a most unusual diplomat named Stephen Cooper. Though skilled in many languages, he found his carefully chosen words often fell short of securing the agreements his kingdom desperately needed. One fog-shrouded morning, while preparing for a crucial negotiation, Stephen noticed an elderly gardener tending the embassy's prized peonies. The flowers seemed to bow and flourish at his approach, responding not to his touch, but to his breath. "Your words chase agreement, like autumn leaves chase the wind," the gardener observed, his exhale causing a withered bud to suddenly bloom. "True persuasion flows not from the tongue, but from the breath that carries it." "How can breath shape agreements?" Stephen asked, watching in amazement as the garden seemed to dance with each of the old man's measured breaths. The gardener traced the character for harmony in the morning dew. "All creation seeks balance through the breath of understanding. When you breathe in rhythm with this truth, even opposing forces naturally align." He demonstrated an ancient technique, inhaling while embracing both sides of any conflict, holding breath as polarities dissolved into unity, exhaling as harmony emerged through seemingly impossible differences. The first mediators knew that all agreement rides on sacred breath. Align with this wisdom, and even sworn enemies will find common ground. Though skeptical, Stephen began incorporating these breathing patterns before his diplomatic meetings. As he synchronized his breath with harmony's natural flow, his negotiations transformed. Ancient rivalries dissolved into profitable partnerships. Centuries-old disputes resolved themselves with surprising ease. Soon, his modest meeting chamber became known as the Pavilion of Breathing Harmony, where even warring emperors sought his breath-empowered mediation. You too can breathe life into your negotiations. Just as Stephen learned to manifest agreement through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with the universe's harmonizing force. Practice. Before any important discussion, sit in perfect stillness. Inhale for 4 counts while embracing all perspectives equally. Hold for 7 counts as differences dissolve into unity. Exhale for 8 counts while feeling harmony's natural emergence. Continue for 10 cycles, knowing each breath helps birth new understanding between opposing forces. Remember, true persuasion flows not from clever words, but from breathing in harmony with unity's eternal dance. Let each breath reveal new pathways to agreement in the universe's endless negotiation. Chapter 26. The Garden Master's Breath of Growth. In the hanging gardens of ancient Babylon, where cascading terraces stretched toward heaven like verdant dreams, lived a peculiar royal gardener named Megan Foster. Though skilled with common plants, she yearned to create gardens of such overwhelming beauty that they would draw wealth and wonder from across the known world. One misty dawn, while tending struggling moonflowers that refused to thrive, Megan discovered an odd sight, silvery threads of breath-like essence flowing between the most magnificent plants in the garden. Following these ethereal streams led her to a forgotten corner where an ancient woman sat surrounded by impossible blooms that seemed to pulse with golden light. "Your plants grow from soil alone," the woman observed, her breath causing nearby flowers to unfurl in spiraling patterns. "But the greatest gardens grow from the breath of life itself." "What connection has breath to growing things?" Megan asked, noticing how the woman's exhalations made seeds sprout instantly into mature plants. The crone plucked a seed from the air, holding it to her lips. "Every plant dances to the rhythm of divine breath. When you breathe in harmony with growth's sacred pulse, gardens become paradise itself." She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling while holding a plant's perfect form in mind, suspending breath as life force gathered in the soil, exhaling as growth spiraled upward in abundance. The first gardeners knew that breath shapes reality. Breathe with this understanding, and wealth naturally flows where beauty blooms. Though uncertain, Megan began incorporating these breathing patterns into her gardening. As she synchronized her breath with nature's rhythm, her gardens transformed. Plants grew with impossible vigor and grace. Flowers bloomed in mesmerizing patterns that entranced wealthy visitors. Soon, her modest garden became known as the Breathing Paradise, where merchants and kings offered fortunes to recreate its living splendor in distant lands. You too can breathe life into gardens of abundance. Just as Megan learned to manifest beauty through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with nature's creative force. Practice. Stand in your growing space. Inhale for 6 counts while visualizing perfect growth. Hold for 4 counts as life force gathers in the soil. Exhale for 7 counts while sensing abundance spiraling upward. Continue for 13 cycles, knowing each breath helps birth new beauty into being. Remember, true abundance flows not from mere planting, but from breathing in harmony with life's eternal dance. Let each breath reveal new ways that prosperity blooms in the universe's infinite garden. Chapter 27. The Astronomer's Cosmic Currency. In the shadow of ancient Chaldea's towering ziggurats, where stargazers mapped the heavens' eternal dance, lived a peculiar astronomer named Mark Evans. Though his star charts were precise, he struggled to attract the wealthy patrons needed to continue his celestial studies. One moonless night, while charting an unusual alignment of planets, Mark noticed something extraordinary. His breath was creating subtle ripples in the night air that seemed to mirror the movement of stars. Following these mysterious patterns led him to a weathered observatory where a silver-haired woman traced constellations with streams of luminous breath. "You map the stars with eyes alone," she observed, her exhale forming a perfect replica of the Pleiades in glowing mist. "But the cosmos speaks through the rhythm of breath itself." "What connection has breath to celestial wealth?" Mark asked, watching in amazement as her breathing seemed to draw starlight closer to Earth. The woman drew a circle of constellations that pulsed with each of her breaths. The universe's abundance flows in cycles, like breath itself. When you breathe in harmony with celestial rhythms, prosperity rains down like stardust. She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling as the stars rose, holding breath as they reached their apex, exhaling as they set in the west. The first astronomers knew that breath connects Earth to heaven's vault. Align with this wisdom, and cosmic wealth naturally flows. Though skeptical, Mark began incorporating these breathing patterns into his observations. As he synchronized his breath with celestial movements, his work transformed. Wealthy merchants sought his cosmic insights with generous offerings. Nobles competed to fund his research. Soon his humble observatory became known as the Breathing Star Temple, where even kings journeyed to learn how the breath could bridge earth and heaven's prosperity. You too can breathe in cosmic abundance. Just as Mark learned to channel celestial wealth through conscious breath, you can align your breathing with the universe's prosperous rhythms. Practice. Under the night sky, face the rising stars. Inhale for 5 counts as they ascend. Hold for 3 counts at their zenith. Exhale for 7 counts as they journey west. Continue for 15 cycles, knowing each breath draws heaven's abundance closer to earth. Remember, true prosperity flows not from earthly striving, but from breathing in harmony with celestial cycles. Let each breath reveal new channels of abundance from the universe's infinite treasury. Chapter 28. The Messenger's Words of Gold. In the mist-veiled valleys of ancient Tibet, where mountain winds carried whispers between distant monasteries, lived an unusual royal messenger named Kimberly Allen. Though swift of foot, she noticed that no matter how urgent her messages, recipients seemed unmoved to offer more than meager copper coins for her service. One snow-swept morning, while delivering scrolls to a remote temple, Kimberly encountered an ancient monk who appeared to send prayer flags dancing with just his breath. But instead of cloth, the flags were crafted from shimmering golden light. "You carry messages with feet and hands alone," he observed, his whispered words somehow echoing through the entire valley. "But true messengers know that words ride on the breath of intention." "How can breath transform simple messages?" Kimberly asked, watching as his exhale formed characters of light that floated like leaves on the wind. The monk drew a spiral in the frost with his breath. "All communication flows through the sacred winds. When you breathe life into your messages, they carry the weight of mountains." He demonstrated an ancient technique, inhaling the essence of the message, holding breath until it transformed into golden light, exhaling words wrapped in prosperity's glow. The first messengers were masters of breath magic. Align with this wisdom, and every message you carry will return multiplied abundance. Though doubtful, Kimberly began incorporating these breathing patterns before delivering news. As she learned to infuse her messages with sacred breath, her service transformed. Recipients felt the words in their souls, responding with generous gifts of gold and precious gems. Soon, her humble messenger route became known as the Golden Wind Path, where even peasants' simple thanks manifested as valuable rewards. You too can breathe prosperity into your communications. Just as Kimberly learned to manifest abundance through conscious message-bearing, you can align your breath with the universe's rewarding force. Practice. Before delivering any message, sit in stillness. Inhale for 5 counts while absorbing the message's essence. Hold for 6 counts as it transforms into golden light. Exhale for 8 counts while wrapping your words in prosperity's glow. Continue for 9 cycles, knowing each breath helps birth new value into your communications. Remember, true rewards flow not from mere words, but from breathing in harmony with the sacred winds of exchange. Let each breath reveal new pathways for abundance to answer your messages in the universe's endless conversation. Chapter 29. The Master Builder's Temple of Abundance. In the shadow of mighty Petra, where rose-colored cliffs held secrets of sacred geometry, lived an unusual architect named Timothy Cruz. Though his buildings were sound, they lacked the mysterious quality that made ancient temples resonate with divine power and draw endless streams of gold from devoted pilgrims. One twilight, while measuring proportions for a new shrine, Timothy noticed something extraordinary. The most prosperous temples seemed to pulse with an invisible rhythm, like the breathing of some vast celestial being. Following this subtle vibration led him to a hidden chamber where an aged builder traced geometric patterns that shimmered with each careful breath. "You construct with stone and angle alone," she observed, her exhale causing golden light to flow through perfect mathematical forms in the air. But true temples are built on the foundation of sacred breath. "What connection has breath to architecture?" Timothy asked, watching as her rhythmic breathing somehow strengthened and aligned the very stones around them. The builder drew a perfect spiral with her finger, each segment glowing as she breathed upon it. All matter dances to the pulse of divine respiration. When you breathe the sacred ratios into being, spaces naturally fill with abundance. She revealed an ancient technique, inhaling while visualizing perfect proportions, holding breath as golden energy gathered in the foundations, exhaling to raise walls that vibrated with prosperity's frequency. The first temple builders were masters of breath architecture. Align with this wisdom, and wealth flows naturally through your created spaces. Though skeptical, Timothy began incorporating these breathing patterns into his work. As he learned to infuse sacred breath into each measurement and stone, his buildings transformed. Temples seemed to sing with divine harmony, drawing pilgrims and offerings from across continents. Soon, his humble workshop became known as the Academy of Breathing Architecture, where even kings paid fortunes to learn how sacred spaces could be tuned to abundance through the power of conscious breath. You too can breathe prosperity into your spaces. Just as Timothy learned to construct temples of abundance through divine breathing, you can align your environment with the universe's prosperous frequencies. Practice. In your chosen space, face east. Inhale for 8 counts while visualizing perfect geometric forms. Hold for 4 counts as golden energy gathers in the foundation. Exhale for 7 counts while sensing prosperity flowing through every angle and arch. Continue for 12 cycles, knowing each breath helps attune your space to heaven's abundance. Remember, true wealth flows not from mere construction, but from breathing in harmony with the sacred mathematics of creation. Let each breath reveal new ways to build bridges between earth and heaven's infinite treasury. Chapter 30. The Breathkeeper's Final Secret. In the crystal caves beneath ancient Mount Kailash, where the very walls pulsed with divine energy, lived the last keeper of breath mysteries, Christina Morales. Unlike other masters who taught single techniques, she guarded the ultimate secret, how the universe's abundance naturally flows through harmonized breath. While most seekers arrived bearing gifts and proclamations, Christina waited for one who would ask the right question. That seeker appeared as a humble woman who simply asked, "Why does wealth feel so unnatural to acquire?" Christina smiled, her breath creating subtle rainbow patterns in the cave's crystalline air. "Because you believe abundance must be chased," she said, "when it naturally flows like breath itself." She led the seeker deeper into the caves, where streams of golden light danced with each of Christina's breaths. "Watch closely," she instructed. "Notice how I neither grasp nor push away. Each breath simply flows, and abundance follows, like shadow follows light." Christina demonstrated the final mystery, breathing in perfect rhythm with the universe's natural pulse. As she did, precious gems materialized in the cave walls, streams of gold sparkled in the underground pools, and even the air itself seemed to shimmer with prosperity. "The ultimate secret is this," Christina revealed, her words carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. "Wealth is not something to pursue, but a natural state to remember. Just as you never worry whether your next breath will come, abundance flows when you trust its eternal presence." She shared the sacred technique, breathing in harmony with 5 cosmic rhythms: Earth's stability, water's flow, fire's transformation, air's freedom, and spirit's infinity. "When your breath dances with all 5, she explained, you become a living channel for universal abundance. As the seeker learned to align her breath with these cosmic forces, her entire being began to radiate prosperity's golden light. She discovered that wealth flowed not from outer action, but from inner harmony with the universe's abundant nature. You too can breathe in perfect harmony with universal abundance. Just as Christina revealed the final mystery, you can align your breath with the cosmic dance of prosperity. Practice. Sit in perfect stillness. Begin with earth. Inhale stability for 4 counts. Flow like water. Hold breath for 7 counts. Transform like fire. Exhale for 8 counts. Float like air. Pause for 5 counts. Touch infinity. Let your next breath arise naturally. Continue this rhythm for 21 cycles, knowing each breath aligns you more perfectly with the universe's natural abundance. Remember, true prosperity isn't earned or achieved. It's remembered through breath that dances in harmony with existence itself. Let each breath reveal your original nature as a living channel of infinite abundance. In this final teaching lies the heart of all abundance mysteries. Wealth flows as naturally as breath when we remember our unity with the cosmos itself. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. And so the tale reaches its final turning, where all scattered teachings gather as one river flowing back into the sea. Through markets and temples, through fields, looms, and forges, every seeker learned the same forgotten truth. Prosperity is not summoned by toil alone, nor by cleverness of hand, but by the rhythm of breath that binds mortal and eternal. In the hush of Mount Kailash's crystal womb, the breath keeper unveiled what merchants, farmers, and dancers had only glimpsed in fragments. That wealth is not an alien prize to be hunted, but a natural tide, rising and falling as effortlessly as our own inhalation and exhalation. Gold, grain, gems, and gardens, all are but reflections of this sacred pulse. The merchants of Damascus discovered it in the spice's fragrance. The fishermen tasted it upon the sea's inhale and exhale. The potter, the scribe, the vintner, the navigator, all in their way, rediscovered the ancient covenant, to breathe in harmony with the unseen loom that weaves destiny. So too may you, listener, walk in this lineage. Each breath is a covenant renewed, each inhalation a drawing in of hidden abundance, each exhalation a release of fear and grasping. When you breathe thus, wealth ceases to be a distant shore, and instead becomes the very air that sustains you. Let this remembrance be your epilogue, that the greatest treasure lies not in coins stacked nor jewels hoarded, but in the eternal breath that moves through you, unbroken, unending. Breathe as the ancients breathed, and the world itself will rise to meet you in overflowing measure. For in truth, abundance is not a mystery to be solved, but a rhythm to be remembered, the first breath you ever drew, and the last breath you shall return, both belonging to the same infinite treasury.
If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.